whoever comes to a mirror to change himself has already changed. It is more important to look at how many people have been injured by anger's very nature. Many have burst their veins with excessive fury, their shouts greater than they had strength for, have bought up blood, and the tears dropping, surging violently into their eyes have dimmed the sharpness of their sights. Sick, they have slid back into disease. There is no swifter road to madness. Many have persisted in frenzy of anger and have never recovered the mind they have banished. Frenzy drove Ajax into his death, and it was anger that drove him into frenzy. They called down to death on their children, poverty on themselves, and ruin on their households. They denied their own anger, just as raving men do their insanity. Foes to their closest friends, pharaohs to their nearest and dearest, heedless of laws except those by which they can do harm. Responsive to every slight hard to approach, either with speech or dutiful actions, they use force for every task, ready both to wield their swords in battle and to fall upon them. For a very great evil has seized them, one that exceeds all other vices. The other creeps in little by little, but this one's onrush is sudden and total. It ends by subjecting all other emotions to itself. It conquers the most passionate love for the enraged, have impaled their bodies of those they loved, and then have lain in the embraces of those they killed. Even greed, the toughest and least malleable of evils, get trodden down by anger, driven to scatter its wealth to the winds and to torch its house and heap up possessions. What else? Having the ambitions tossed aside, the badges of office they valued so highly, and rejected the honor that was bestowed on them. There is no emotion that anger does not overmaster. Now, for book 3, it contains further practical advice for dealing with anger and teaches ways to not get angry, to stop anger once it begun, and to cure other people's angers according to the scheme announced in 3.5. But before we reach that point, Seneca reminds us yet again of how destructive a force of anger is. I just want to add my 2 cents into this. It is true. You have to be able to recognize the power of anger. Men that has been in jail, right? Most of men that have been in jail, 90% of them, it was because of anger. And if you don't control it, it could actually put you in a position where you will regret later. That's why I previously said self-control is the master of anger, because if you go out and crash out because you got angry, you may make the wrong choice and the wrong decision that can lead you down the road where you will learn never to put yourself in that position of anger again. Now, we're human beings, so of course, we all get our moments of anger. But if you can slowly slow down, take a deep breath, and think before you do, you will be in a much better place. Now let's continue. We will try now to do what you most desire. Know this, to cut anger out of the mind, or at least to rein it in and restrain it on rushes. This action must sometimes be taken openly and overtly when the force of the malady is first felt, and at other times in secret. When it burns too hot and grows and toughens with every hindrance, it matters how great its powers are and how intact to determine whether we must beat it down and drive it backwards, or whether we ought to yield to it while the storm is first raging, lest it carries off with itself its own cures. We must also lay plans according to each person's nature. Entreaties wins over some, while others abuse and attack those who humbles themselves. Others still we can frighten into the calm state. Scolding can divert someone from the course they have set out on confessions. Others shame still others, and then delay as slow remedy for an evil that moves at breakneck speed, which ought to be used as a last resort. Other emotions, except postponement, can be tended in more slowly, but the violence of this one, once it is aroused and whips itself up, doesn't advance little by little, but becomes full blown as soon as it begun. It doesn't have the same way of goading minds as the other vices do. It drags them away, deprives them of self-control, drives them into longing for harm that will afflict or provokes rage against not only its targets, but whatever comes in its way. Other vices push our minds forward, but anger pitches them headlong. Other feelings may be impossible to withstand, but they come to a stop. This one gains more and more strength, just like thunderbolts, tornadoes, and other things that don't just move but plummet and thus can't be called back. Other vices depart from rationality. This one form of sanity. Others make gradual inroads and undetected increases, but our minds vault into anger. Anger passes no time of life, makes no exceptions for race. Some people have been graced by want and have never known luxury. Others who keep in training and on the move escape indolence. Others have a crude and rustic way of life and knows nothing of forgery, cheating, and the many evils arising from the forum. But there is no race that not guided by anger. It's as powerful among Greeks as among barbarians, as harmful among those who fear laws, as among those who whose only legal codes are law of the stronger. Then too, while the other vices undo us one by one, this one emotion sometimes strike in masses. Never did an entire populace burn with love of a woman, nor did a whole nation ever grasp at the hope of money or treasure. Ambition takes hold of us one at a time, person by person, and recklessness is not an evil that afflicts the public. But often a whole crowd have lined up to march into anger. Men, women, old men, youths, aristocrats, commoners, all have shared the same feeling. A vast mob spurred on by only a few words has surged past even the one who spurred them. There's a headlong dash for weapons and torches, and wars declared against neighbors or waged against fellow citizens. Whole households are burned up along with their families' lines, and the speaker once held the high honor for his esteemed style becomes the target of his audience with wrath. Army units turns their spears against their own general. The common people split from the nobles. The Senate has chosen men to act on its impulsive rage without a draft being held or a commander chosen. And after chasing leading men through the house parties of the cities, has imposed punishment with its own hand. Ambassadors are harmed, a breaking of the custom of nations, a monstrosity frenzy carries away the citizens with no delay allotted, the fever to abate. Fleets are launched straight away, their decks laden with hastily assembled solidarity, and the people let out by impulse of their anger, not pausing for due customs or taking of whatever came to hand in place of true weapons, in the end have paid the price of their recklessness, headless anger, enormous bloodshed. So won't everyone want to call themselves back from anger's borders once they understand that its first onset is to their detriment? Don't you want me to advise people who wield anger from the height of power, who thinks it is a testament to their strength, who reckoned a ready revenge to be one of the great benefits of great wealth, that he who is a prisoner of anger cannot be called powerful or even free?